Hello everybody, it's Rick. It is March 21, 2017. If you need to reach me, it's rick0327@me.com. Okay, the last video I did was on Sunday night about the Undertaking, and it's good information. Because an undertaking is an agreement, it's an obligation, and I did research, looked it up in New York State, and there's actual paperwork with family court letterhead talking about undertaking, and it's a nice little secret they don't want us to know about. And what is going on is we have filed demand of validation of debt with these people. We're doing interrogatories. We're coming at them from different corners or different directions, not corners, directions. And the reason is because as we're finding out, the common response is child support is not a consumer debt. All right, it's not a consumer debt, but they have customer service agents. They have an 800 number on the paperwork. Consumer Credit Protection Act. It follows. And so when we asked them to validate the debt, they don't want to respond. Well, guess what? Now, what I did last night is I created a demand for undertaking paperwork or documentation affidavit. And what we're going to do with that is you're going to send it to the child support agency, especially those of you who have already filed paperwork, and they're responding with their, as I just said, a minute ago, it's not a consumer debt. We don't have to validate it. Child support agency, because it's a criminal organization, and because they're getting busted by us, they do not believe they need to provide evidence. And down the road, this is where I see us going eventually down the road, is we're going to have to stand in front of the child support agency, and you're going to have to, have somebody with you, have the necessary paperwork, complaint. Hold on, guys. I had a merge here. And have somebody with a camera, and call 911 and have a sheriff or police officer respond. And this is my area of expertise. And the reason why you're going to do it that way is because if you are to go to a police station or a sheriff department, they're going to start making phone calls. They're going to call the the district attorney, and they're going to tell the robots in the uniforms that who only knows how to answer calls, who are dumb enough to be told that people who point out that they have rights guaranteed by the Constitution are now called sovereigns and constitutionalists, when in fact they're the constitutionalists. Whenever you raise your right hand and say, I solemnly swear, I'm going to discharge the duties, blah, 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 blah. I swore that 2 times. I was a corrections officer when I was 21 years old. I started on Rikers Island, worked there for 3.5 years, and then I became a police officer. I had a pretty good career, okay? So I know all about this swearing stuff. So when you go to as I'm saying, why you're going to have to stand in front of the building and have a marked unit respond is because they're on the spot now. You're going to give them the paperwork. You're going to show. Look at this box right here. There's nothing there. There's no signature. There's no court order. There's no writ of execution. There's no writ of garnishment. It's nothing. This is nothing but a forgery. And just because it's coming from this building and it's supposed to be an agency, with the state letterhead on top of it, does not prevent them from being arrested. It's a crime. And I mentioned it in my other videos, this would keep me up at night before I finally got my case vacated. It was keeping me up at night because I knew I had to go this route. And if anybody listened to my video, I had the audio recording. Hey, listen, I had the balls to threaten to arrest this woman. And I did it in the paperwork. So it's not like I'm asking you guys to do something that I wouldn't do. I did it. Okay, and I think that's another reason why they're afraid of me. Because I know I can do it. It's, I don't want them to make, an example of me. But you need to get it done. So have the police respond, the sheriff respond. Then what's going to happen is, you're going to have the camera going. You're going to have your friend there as a witness. You need a witness. Always have a witness. And the whole thing is, officer, are you telling me you're not going to make an arrest? You're not going to take the complaint? You realize if you don't do that, you're concealing a crime. You're obstructing. And you know what? The word is going to get to the office. It's going to get to the people. I'm telling you, it'll get to them. And if enough of us do this, we're breaking ground to a different place. Because this, I've said it many times in my video, this is a crime. I did a video for anybody who's dealing with their employer who's being, they're not being very kind and they're not responding the right way, and they're still allowing your money to be stolen. I did the video, right, showing my police ID. Okay, it's a crime. And if you don't, respond the right way, you're part of the crime now. Your employer, because they just respond because they're afraid because it says New York State, Pennsylvania, Maryland, California, Texas, whatever it says, it doesn't make it right. Now, why it's important, as soon as you get the paperwork, if you have it, as soon as you get it, send it out to the clerk immediately. And also, what we're going to send to the clerk now? The man for the undertaking. Well, I added that already to the clerk paperwork. Now, guys, you don't need me to do this, okay? You have the paperwork already. All you got to do is you add two lines. The undersigned is demanding proof of an undertaking for the payment of child support with child support agency, whatever the child support agency is that you're dealing with. Because an undertaking, again, for those who maybe didn't watch the video, whatever, it's an agreement, all right? A handshake, signature, agreement that you and the child support agency came to an agreement to where you're an obligor, you have to pay an obligation. But what they're doing is they're claiming a court says you have to pay. But here's the thing. A court cannot make you an obligor unless the child support agency presented to the court proof of a loan, a proof of repayment. What is that? The undertaking. Without the undertaking, the court cannot order you to pay. See, that's the slick move that they're doing. A court cannot order you to be an obligor unless the court is actually shown a signature. Foreclosure on a house. You got a foreclosure. What do the banks show to court? We're not going to get into that, all right? I know about that. So anybody is going to reach out to me, Rick, the foreclosures. I know all about that stuff. I'm just using it as an example. A foreclosure, you go for a closing, you sign 1,000 pieces of paper, and that's the proof that you took out a loan for the mortgage. Well, that's what you need. That's what the court needed to see from the child support agency. Okay? Well, guess what? They can't. So we got them again. Another weapon. Okay? So, and then you're going to take it. Now I want to see how the clerk responds. What are they going to say? They're going to have to say there is no such undertaking, and they know about it. An undertaking is it's a commonly used term in the clerk's office. I'm finding out by doing my research. I didn't know what it was until a few days ago when I stumbled upon it Saturday. But I'm confident now that this is another weapon in our arsenal. It's another swing of the axe to knock the trees down, as we say. Okay, so again, you're gonna add that line to your notification to the clerk. All you gotta do it yourself, guys. Just get an affidavit. It doesn't have to be fancy. To clerk's office from you. All right. Put in the first line, RE, semicolon, demand proof of undertaking between your name and the child support agency. First line, the intention of this notice of demand is to receive physical evidence of an agreement between your name and the child support agency. Period. Second line. If there is no proof of this document or if there's no proof of this undertaking, please say so on the letterhead, the clerk letterhead. And that's it. Very simple stuff. Okay? Then, when you have that response come back to you, you take that and you send it to your employer who's being difficult. Okay? Now you're going to show your employer another thing. Remember, there's no proof of a money judgment. Well, there's no proof of the undertaking, the agreement that you agreed to make payments to child support. And that's what we're doing. All right? Somebody asked me today, Rick, what's an affidavit of service? Affidavit of service is an affidavit where your wife can do it. Anybody that's not yourself, who's not related to the case and have to be over 18 years old, that they're taking a copy of the order of whatever you're filing with the court, and they're sending a copy to the other party, the mother of your child or children, and if it's the child support agency, you send it to them as well. And then you attach the affidavit of service to the the paperwork that you're submitting to court. Your demand to vacate, your writ of quo warranto, and that's it. Real simple stuff. Now, in New York State, a subscriber or friend, Bob, from upstate New York, tried filing the writ of quo warranto, and he got back paperwork from the family court saying that, we don't accept those writs here. Listen, a writ of quo warranto is a common law writ. Every court must accept a writ of quo warranto, because every court is a common law court. They don't want us to notice. That's the reason why there's a big pushback with the common law stuff. That's the reason why the ADL has the lawless ones, because common law is very, very simple, and lawyers would be out driving cabs if common law came back into play again. Okay? It's very simple stuff. And obviously they don't want it back in the courts again. So, but it's a common law writ, and they must accept it. Every state is a common law state. That's the reason why if you try to sue an employee or an employer, what's the first thing they claim they are? They're sovereign. I love it, how they're sovereign, but if you and I claim we're sovereign, we're labeled. We're labeled a domestic terrorist. All right, so you're going to have to push back on that one. Now remember, the Undertaking works is with the writ of quo warranto, because every public officer must have on record, filed with the clerk's office, their... I'm not sure what's going on with my camera. I'm going to shut this down. Something's going on with my camera. And if you can still hear me. But every public officer must have their oath filed with the clerk's office. And if they don't, there's case law that says that all their orders are void. Because that's the reason why they're scared of this stuff. All right? Because they don't want anybody to find out. It's a big problem for the state. If every order that's signed by a public official is not backed up by their oath, it could be serious problems for the state. All right, I'm going to shut this video down. I don't know what happened to my camera. I'll talk to you guys later.